After a misunderstanding, a college student must travel from Minneapolis to Memphis to retrieve a breakup letter before it reaches his girlfriend. One snowy evening, Wyatt makes out with his girlfriend, Kimberly, inside a car. When the man starts getting handsy, the woman pushes him away. He apologizes but reasons that he can't help himself if he finally wants to do the deed because it's their last night together before they return to their respective colleges in Minneapolis and Memphis. So she reminds him that they dated throughout high school and their first college semester while remaining chaste, and she wasn't going to cross that hollowed threshold over Christmas break. Kimberly adds that when they make love for the first time, it isn't gonna happen in a car. Wyatt apologizes again, so the woman grabs a gift from her bag and hands it to her boyfriend. He sees that it's a magnetic heart-shaped pendant and the girlfriend shows hers that's made out of steel. As the couple kisses, the two pendants stick to each other. Suddenly, a cop knocks on the window, but when Wyatt turns to open it, the locked pendants pull Kimberly and she falls face first onto his lap. So when the man rolls down the window, the police officer thinks they're doing something intimate. Weeks later, Wyatt writes his girlfriend a letter stating how much he misses her. On the corkboard above his desk, he displays their mugshots when they got arrested that snowy night. He points out that it's only 2 days before Valentine's, making the distance between them seem even bigger. In class, the man politely criticizes Turan's paper by stating that it lacks a touch of reality. Later, Wyatt and his friends return to their dorm room and they hear the female student next door doing the deed with a third guy this week. Then, they watch a news report on TV about the local serial killer's newest victim. One friend mentions that women sleep around when they go to college. When the man says Kimberly's different, Radich disagrees and insinuates that she's probably cheating on him. Before the friends leave, they tell Wyatt that they'll be at the bar if he decides to join them. Later that night, he calls Kimberly and her roommate answers. However, when he asks where his girlfriend is, she says she had to kick her and the Ricker out for a few hours because they were making too much noise. Before Wyatt can ask any more questions, the roommate says she'll tell the woman that he called and hangs up. Convinced his girlfriend cheated on him, the man heads to the gentleman's club to join his friends. Moments later, Ivy, an exotic dancer, begins her performance on stage. Meanwhile, Wyatt tells his friends that he can't believe Kimberly's cheating on him because they already planned their future together. To take his mind off his problem, Radich encourages the man to keep drinking. When the group recognizes a dancer, a fellow student at their college whom they've heard is dating a professor, they call her over. Moments later, Snake starts touching Ivy inappropriately, so Wyatt tells his friend to respect the woman because she might be someone's girlfriend. However, Snake continues pestering the dancer and a scuffle ensues, so the bouncers end up throwing the rowdy man out of the bar. While the inebriated Wyatt lies on the hood of a car, he watches a bouncer toss Ivy out the door because she's fired. The man apologizes for what his friend did, and she thanks him for standing up for her. Because she doesn't feel like going home yet, the woman asks Wyatt if he'd like to go to the diner with her and he says yes. In the diner, the heartbroken man cries as he tells Ivy all the things he loves about Kimberly. Tired of his crying, the woman tells Wyatt that he needs to break up before his girlfriend can end things so he at least still has his pride. In the library, the dancer dictates a scathing breakup letter and the man types it into the computer. Then, they head to his dorm room where the woman tells Wyatt to pose for a lewd picture with her so they can send it along with the letter. Because the dancer thinks the letter needs to reach Kimberly as soon as possible, she suggests sending it through an overnight delivery service. The next day, Wyatt hears his girlfriend's voice message explaining that the Ricker is her friend's chihuahua that she offered to dog sit for a few days. Realizing that it was all a misunderstanding, the man runs to Ivy's dorm room. However, she says it's his problem. So the man reminds her about the topless picture and how Kimberly might post it on the internet out of spite. So they head to the office to hopefully cancel the delivery. However, the person working the counter is Turan, who still hates Wyatt for his criticism of her paper. Eventually, the woman agrees to help him when he says he'll pay her $100. But when the man admits that he doesn't have his wallet with him, Turan deletes the package details from the computer, making it impossible to remotely cancel the delivery. Desperate, Wyatt speaks to Hal, the driver responsible for the truck containing packages addressed to Memphis. When the man explains that he'd like to retrieve his package, the driver thinks he's a quality control spy for the company there to test him. He says he can't break the rules and suggests the customer go through the proper channels regarding a cancellation. Later, Wyatt purchases a plane ticket to Memphis over the phone, hoping he'll arrive early enough to intercept the letter. Ivy sees the couple's mugshot on the corkboard and says it's a long story. Because he has to get to the airport in 10 minutes to catch the 9:15 flight, the dancer offers to give him a ride. On the plane, Wyatt wonders why they haven't left the ground yet. Suddenly, he sees several police cars surround the plane, and when his seatmate, JD, shares a story about how he killed his ex-wife, he realizes that he's the infamous serial killer from the news. To escape the cops, JD smashes his champagne glass on the seat to fashion a weapon and takes Wyatt hostage. Outside, the police surround the pair and the student manages to fight the deranged man off him. Panicked, he runs toward the fence and climbs over it while the cops arrest JD. As he stands in the middle of the road, Ivy narrowly misses him with her car. At a gas station, Wyatt asks the dancer to drive him to Memphis. She suggests he return to the airport and explain what happened, but the man fears the FBI might detain him for 9 hours and he'll be too late to retrieve the letter. Suddenly, they see Hal's truck pull into the gas station, so Ivy tells the driver to buy nail polish in the store so he can paint over the scratches on the bumper. Then, the dancer picks the lock so Wyatt can get inside and find the package. Moments later, Hal comes out of the store and returns to the vehicle, so the student hides on a shelf. After the truck leaves, Ivy tries to get Hal to stop by driving next to him and lifting her shirt. It almost works, but Wyatt falls off the shelf after grabbing the package, and the driver realizes what's happening. The man speeds off, so the student opens the door and jumps onto the dancer's car. However, Hal steps on the brakes, forcing Ivy to do the same. This causes Wyatt to fly off the hood of the car and back onto the truck, where the driver pulls the package from the student's hands. Because a fire extinguisher goes off during the scuffle, the liquid causes Wyatt to slip out of the truck and onto a trolley. Eventually, he lets go of the trolley and lies in the middle of the road. Seconds later, Ivy appears and asks the man if he's alright. He stands up and starts blaming her for everything that's happened to him. He says he doesn't need her help because he can retrieve the package on his own. After walking on the side of the road for a few minutes, Wyatt decides to get back in the car when the dancer says she'll give him a ride to the Iowa airport so he can catch the next flight to Memphis from there. The man changes into Ivy's clothes in the back seat because his were ruined during the ordeal with the delivery truck earlier. Later, Wyatt shares that he and Kimberly decided to wait until marriage before making love for the first time, but the dancer can't fathom marrying a person she's never slept with. The woman says she doesn't think he'll ever do the deed with Kimberly because a woman knows from the second she meets a man if she wants to sleep with him. Offended, Wyatt points out that the fact that she's dating a professor doesn't mean she knows more about relationships than he does. He calls her promiscuous, so she stops the car and emphasizes that her love life is none of his business and that he should just be grateful that she's even driving him to Iowa. At the airline counter, Wyatt tries to explain that he's the man who the serial killer took hostage at the airport earlier, so he deserves to get on the plane. However, he's unable to prove his identity, and the employee refuses to give him a ticket. Ready to give up the pursuit, the man accepts that his relationship is over, so Ivy slaps him to stop his tantrum and states that there's a flight that leaves St. Louis at midnight. However, he counters that it's 400 miles away and he doesn't have the cash to rent a car. He proposes that the dancer drive him there, but she only agrees if he pays her $400 for all the mental anguish she's experienced. Later, Ivy has a nightmare where she asks Wyatt why it took him so long to realize that the person he's supposed to be with was right next to him all along. Suddenly, Kimberly, who's wearing a cheerleader outfit, appears on the hood of her car and shoots at the pair. When the man tries to make a call on a payphone, the dancer playfully distracts him by performing a cheer routine. Annoyed by her screaming, the man forcefully pulls the cord off the payphone, ending the call. Seeing his angry expression, Ivy says it was for the best because he can't call his girlfriend without having to explain the letter and its contents. Then they stop at a store so Wyatt can buy new clothes. Later, while the woman drives, the dozing man lays his head on her shoulder. She lovingly touches his hair, but when he starts mumbling about how much he loves Kimberly, the annoyed dancer pushes him off her. Eventually, Wyatt realizes that the woman veered off the highway and onto what she believes is a shortcut. He theorizes that she did it on purpose because she doesn't want him to reach the package in time. The student adds that the dancer wants Kimberly to read the letter because she wants them to break up since she has a crush on him. Wyatt says that though he's flattered, nothing's ever gonna happen between them because he loves his girlfriend. While distracted due to the argument, Ivy hits barriers on the road and manages to stop the vehicle right by the edge of a tall cliff. When the man steps out, he almost falls but grabs onto the car. As he's dangling, the dancer teases that she won't help him until he admits that it's actually him who secretly has feelings for her. Fearing for his life, Wyatt says he loves Ivy, but because she still doesn't pull him up, he ends up falling onto a ledge that's several feet below. After he climbs back up, the man berates the woman and calls her a good-for-nothing exotic dancer. Insulted, she punches Wyatt, and as he stumbles backward, he nudges the car and it falls off the cliff and onto the river below. So the pair walk to the nearest diner to eat dinner. Because they refuse to speak to each other, they sit at different tables. Eventually, the woman asks the waiter to call the man over and he apologizes for what happened to her car. She says it's all in the past and that she thought of a new plan. The dancer mentions that she is gonna call her professor boyfriend to purchase 2 tickets, one for her to return to Minneapolis and one for Wyatt to Memphis. He asks if her boyfriend won't get jealous that she went on an adventure with another man, so she explains that the professor is mature enough to understand the situation. After the meal, Ivy tries to create a diversion by telling the waiter that a man sitting at the bar was her old teacher and she'd like the staff to sing him a happy birthday. Then she leans close to her companion and tells him that they're going to sneak out the restroom window because they don't have the money to pay for the food. However, after they squeeze through the windows, police officers turn their headlights on and arrest the pair. At the station, while the cops take the woman's fingerprints, he asks her if she's told her companion how she really feels about him. The dancer insists that there's nothing romantic about their relationship and she's just helping him get to Memphis so he can see his girlfriend. However, the officer says he knows Wyatt loves Ivy because he's an expert on behavioral patterns, and the man's lip quivers every time he looks at her. After posting bail, she asks how he was able to convince Kimberly, but he says he didn't call his girlfriend and chose to contact Radich instead. Later, they spot Hal's truck parked outside a diner, but the driver has the package on the table with him. So Wyatt uses a hose to empty the vehicle's gas tank to possibly slow down the delivery. By the door, Hal argues with a diner employee because his food's cold. Then, he takes the lit cigarette from the man's mouth and throws it on the ground, unaware that there's a trail of gas leading to his truck. Seconds later, the fire causes the vehicle to explode. Ivy says even though things didn't go according to plan, at least the package won't be delivered. However, the determined driver shows the pair the package and he drives off in the wrecked vehicle. At a gas station, they steal a drunk man's pickup truck. The next day, they finally reach Kimberly's campus in Memphis. Overjoyed, Wyatt jumps on the truck and dances to celebrate. As they say their goodbyes, the man says that although their trip was chaotic, he admits that he had a great time. Even though they're both aware that they have feelings for each other, the man says he made a promise to save his relationship with Kimberly, much to Ivy's disappointment. Because it's Valentine's Day, several delivery trucks park by the sidewalk and he can't waste any time trying to intercept the package. So even if he wants to give his companion a proper goodbye, she tells him to go and retrieve the letter before it's too late. By the door, Kimberly waits for the Valentine's surprise from her boyfriend. Minutes later, Wyatt tackles the wrong man when he mistakes him for Hal. Then, he sees the driver on the other side of the building about to hand his girlfriend the package, so he uses a rope to swing over and crashes through the glass door. When the driver strangles her boyfriend, the woman hits Hal on the head with a lamp. After the delivery man stumbles out of the room, Wyatt kisses Kimberly and she states how he's never kissed her like that before. However, after the smooch, the man realizes he already fell in love with someone else and breaks up with his girlfriend. As he's leaving, he bumps into a man and his magnetic pendant sticks to the identical one around the stranger's neck. He deduces that he's the Ricker, and the guy affirms, confirming that Kimberly lied and cheated on him. Outside the building, Wyatt sees Hal, hands him the package, and allows him to deliver it. Then, the man chases after the dancer and professes his true feelings. He hands Ivy a bouquet of daisies and they finally share a passionate kiss. When the woman teases that she thought he had a girlfriend, he removes the pendant, tosses it on the ground, and says he was only killing time till he met her.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.